What's going on, paisanos? V here, coming at you with a tier video. Now, before I begin, I just want to say, guys, please make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and comment down below if you guys have any questions. These videos get a lot of mixed reactions. A lot of people love my last tier list video, and I definitely missed a lot of things in that video. And in this video, I'm going to go over as much as possible. If I missed a deck, guys, please make sure to comment down below. If I missed your deck, I'm sorry. This game has a crazy amount of decks in its meta right now, so it's kind of hard to really encapsulate every single deck, because I know there's a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh players out there that's like, no, V, Fluff was a tier 0, you don't know the combo that I made up. So I hopefully you guys can forgive me if I missed one of your deck, but once again, like I said, please make sure to comment down below. Now, in the current tier we have right now, we have basically 3 tiers. We have tier 1, which is one of the best decks in the meta, decks that top the most, show a lot of prevalence. That's basically tier 1. Tier 1.5 is a meta in which you can fight tier 1 decks, you can play against them. If you're a great player, you can play your deck at a tier 1 level, even though you have a tier 1.5 deck. But for the most part, every other player, a majority of the players, play at about an average ratio, and that puts it at a tier 1.5 level, because tier 1 decks, can still get it if you just play, a fair version of your tier 1.5 deck, I guess is the best way to say it. And then there's just tier 2. Tier 2 is simple. It's not a deck that's on the radar. And I'll give you a good example. Prank Kids are tier 2. Prank Kids is a tier 2 deck that basically has very few showings, especially after the ban list in which Summon Sorcerers was hit. Prank Kids definitely are a great deck. They can play against decks like Thunder Dragons and just sit there and laugh at the deck as Thunder Dragons is trying to get through them. They can't, by the way. They lose to Prank Kids. But Prank Kids have a hard matchup against almost everything in the meta. And even though the deck Prank Kids has a lot of great plays, you can brick a lot with Prank Kids. I took this deck to a regionals twice and bricked a ton in the regionals. But don't sleep on Prank Kids, because they can still have a lot of combos. Just they're not good. They're just, it's hard to say that they are good. This is one of my favorite decks, by the way. I have 2 decks on me that I'm taking to the YCS, which I'm about to lead to in about 10 minutes. Prank Kids is definitely one of those decks. I love it that much. But you have to give it where it's due. A lot of players that do take Prank Kids to these events don't do as good in comparison to other decks in the meta. Then we have a deck that's just tier 1.5, and that's Mystic Mind variants. I think Mystic Mind is a good deck. I really do. I think the Mystic Mind Burn, I think, is what I'm really trying to focus on. I'm talking about Mystic Mind right now. Obviously, you can play it in a lot of other decks. The field spell itself is very splashable. But right now, Mystic Mind Burn is what I really want to talk about. It's kind of falling off the map. It's not being played as much, but still you have to always worry about it. Like, we're in a meta right now in which whatever deck you play, you have to play ways to get rid of Mystic Mime. That is pretty busted. Just the field spell alone is enough for players to go, how do you play against Mystic Mime game 1? That's a real question that's being asked, and I think that Mystic Mime is definitely deserving 1.5 just because it puts that kind of fear into Yu-Gi-Oh players' eyes, but I don't see that it's topping as much as it was when Dark Neostorm first came out. So, once again, it doesn't make the tier 1 slot, but definitely a tier 1.5 deck. Tier 1, it's Orcust, obviously. It's one of the tier 1 decks in the meta right now. Orcust is being splashed in everything. Most predominantly, Danger Orcust is the deck we're seeing a lot of. Orcust is absolutely a tier 1 deck. I don't think there's any question in my mind that this deck is this deck is the tier 1.5. It's definitely tier 1. You run Danger Orcust, you can make misplays, but it's no big deal because you're running Danger, so it kind of like backs the deck up. And if you pitch an Orcust card, you don't need to really go into other plays that you might have to do if you're just running a build that doesn't run the Danger Orcust, like Dark Warrior Orcust, or whatever you want to play. But yeah, I think Danger Orcust is probably the most consistent build out of Orcust. Orcust is a really good deck, and like I said, you keep progressing combo, which is like the big thing of the deck. Let's go into Crusadia real quickly, guys. Crusadia's gonna be a tier 1.5. I think that as much as I like Crusadia, it still is a one-punch man deck. That's all it is. There's no like Crusadia mid-game. Crusadia mid-game is, hey, dude, I'm trying to do turn 1. On turn like 5, how the hell am I live? It's turn 5. I'm playing Crusadias. It's a one-punch man deck. Now, it's not bad, by the way. And the reason I put it at 1.5 instead of tier 2 is because even though it haven't shown any kind of regional topping, because Crusadia's that deck, the minute you play against it as a Yu-Gi-Oh player, your whole mentality changes instantly. And if you're not prepared for this, you're gonna get smacked. It's that simple. And even though Crusadia hasn't been, like I said, hasn't been topping as much, and even though it really hasn't been done much, and we can argue for a tier 2 slot for Crusadias, I still want to put them on 1.5 due to the fact that if any tier 1 deck, you just go, cool, here's a Kaiju, that probably hurts you a lot, doesn't it? Okay, cool. Do full combo, kill you in one shot. I don't think Crusadia can be piloted by a good player or bad player. I don't think it really matters as far as the skill level of the player. Once you nerd the one combo of the deck, which is hold a Kaiju, board, murder, that's all it is. So I'm going to put it on 1.5. You can make a great argument for tier 2. I don't think you would be wrong in that essence. Kozmos. Okay, so Kozmos is tier 2, and the only reason the Kozmos is tier 2, by the way, is because E-Telly is... What is it, to 1? I'm gonna mess this one up, am I? But no, I think E-Telly is to 1, like 99% sure. If E-Telly was to 3, Cosmos will make tier 1.5, and that's me being generous. There might be Cosmos variants out there. The deck's insane, and against a lot of decks in the meta right now, I don't think a lot of these decks have a good matchup against Cosmos. What are you gonna do to this deck? Like, it's just a monster of a deck that floats, and it's kind of like the opposite of Burning Abyss. But it's, as far as it can float more than Burning Abyss and not be targeted, but Burning Abyss is more consistent because the deck has more available monsters that all basically do the same thing. You either stay on board, go to graveyard, they do something. Whereas Cosmos, they don't have many of those monsters. They really don't have many big ships that have a lot of good effects besides Destroyer and the 2800 guy and the 2400 guy. Slip Rider, and maybe Dark Lady, but let's be honest with you, she doesn't float, so who cares? So, as good as I love, and as much as I love Cosmos, they're not 1.5 because they just don't have E-Telly. If you had E-Telly 3, we'd be singing a different tune, no doubt in my mind. ABC is 1.5, and here's the weird thing, once again, guys, I said it early in this video, ABCs, dragons, we can play. We've seen so many different variants. I saw an Orcust variant. I saw a Sky Striker variant. There's a ton of variants. But ABCs nevertheless can be played at a tier 1 level if piloted by a good player. I think it's really easy to say this because ABCs to me reminds me like Cyber Dragons, which I don't see on here. Do I have Cyber Dragons? Wait, here you go. Cyber Dragon Infinity is 1.5. And I talked to I didn't talk to any ABC players, but I talked to this guy, Alex Monlack, at the previous regional I went to. He's probably one of the most, if not the most, well-known Cyber Dragon player in the game. And we was talking about it, and he agreed with me as far as saying, as far as Cyber Dragons, it's a tier 1.5 deck. He acknowledged it fully, because if you're a great player, you can play at tier 1 level and smack people. But most players play at a 1.5 level, and that's what it is with both Cyber Dragons and ABCs. There's a lot. I mean, if you're really good at the deck, if you know what you're doing, if you know the meta, you can easily play this at tier 1. But don't think by picking the deck up you're tier 1. You're not going to be like Orcust. That's like, I don't know how to play this deck. It's okay, I'm playing Orcust. I'm just going to throw things on the board, and maybe I'll just win just because you just can't beat all this spiciness. So that's why I think Cyber Dragons as well as ABCs are in the same kind of category as that. It's the same kind of mentality. True Dracos. As much as I don't put them at tier 1, they're 1.5. You can make an argument for tier 1, but the reason I think it's 1.5 is because they're slowly falling off from what they were at the beginning of this meta. In the beginning of the meta, Dracos was everywhere. You can run Mystic Mind with True Dracos, you can run Pot of Extravagance with True Dracos, you can go back to Card of the Mind with True Dracos. It didn't matter. True Dracos are insane. Oh yeah, they'll just run Crackdown. Thanks to that card, Konami. They'll just throw it in a deck. And I think True Dracos is obviously a deck that's at least tier 1.5. And I'm very fortunate enough to have a couple of people in my locals that play this deck a lot and see how they play and see the mentality, and this deck's insane. This is the kind of deck that if they go off first turn, no matter what deck you have, they go off first turn, you're sitting there with your hand going, okay, do I really got this? And even tier 1 decks will have an issue with their first turn. If a tier 1 deck went on first turn, the crazy thing with two Dracos is they don't care. They go, okay, I'm just gonna pop in my own back row, cycling everything, and I'm just gonna beat you down. That's literally, they don't care about going first, going second. It doesn't matter. Whereas a lot of decks in this meta kind of want to go first. A lot of these tier 1 decks I want to mention almost definitely want to go first, but True Dracos does not care, which is a huge advantage for the deck. Let's see. Let's grab something else. Pendulum Magicians, because I think that's Pendulum Magician guy. I don't have any other versions. Is 1.5. Pendulum Magicians have still showings. They're still topping events. You still have to respect this deck, but they're not like tier 1. They're not omnipotent as compared to other decks in the meta. And the reason why is because they have one play now. Pendulum Magicians, as much as busted they are, as much of a variant of Pendulum Magicians you can play, they have one build basically. It's Negate featuring Goliath. That's it. That's what you want to do when you're playing Pendulums. You're not trying to play any cool, like, I'll play you mid-game. They will play in the mid-game. They have to. They just prefer to play multiple negates with a Goliath and go, great, can you beat this board? If not, I'm going to just win. You're scooping. I do think Pendulum Magicians have a really crappy mid-game, and end-game, there is no end. End-game, if they're near late game, they're just going to lose. They want to really get in the game early, as well as put up a way to bust through whatever board you have, and once again, reset lock. That's all they're looking to do. And hopefully, we get some new Pendulum cards. Hopefully, we get, I know people will hate me when I say this, but I personally think Chronograph should be the card that should be hit, and we should get Astrograph, so Pendulums can have more viability. There's also an argument for playing Electronic 2. I know some people might be upset about that, but I think Electronic would be great if you're KONAMI, you want to put it 2. If you want to promote Pendulums, why would you do that? Because why not? Make more sales with Pendulum monsters by releasing Pendulum sets. It's actually really smart KONAMI does that, and people that play Pendulums won't complain about it. People that hate Pendulums shouldn't complain anyway, because every deck in the meta is busted. And I think that'd be really fun to see with Pendulums. Guru Control, 1.5. No doubt in my mind. I think we can take Guru Control and Altergeist and put them in the same boat with the same mentality. These are both control decks. These are both heavy control decks that are just looking when they play against tier 1 slot decks that are just looking to just set up board, control, and if they get past turn 2, maybe even turn 3, and they're still alive, the game's probably locked out. They probably got the what you call the wrestling, there's the Jake the Snake sleeper hold. You're not getting out of this. You don't even raise his hand, ref. He's tapping out. I think with Guru Control and Geist, it's the same kind of mentality. If I get to turn 3 roughly with you, and you haven't murdered me, then you're probably not gonna get me. I'm gonna probably slowly just run this board, and you're gonna watch me do it. And the thing about playing against Guru Control and Altergeist, I think a lot of players have an issue with is whether or not when to stop and go. You know what? You got. Let's go to game 2. Because the clock gets burned with these decks. The decks don't really care. They just go, cool. I could burn the clock out easily just by playing what this deck does. It's not cheating. It's literally, I'm not gonna kill you because I can't kill you, but I'm gonna slowly burn you out. I'm gonna slowly run this board, and there's nothing you can do about it. So I do think that Altergeist and Guru Control are in the same boat. With that said, Altergeist and Guru have the same weakness: Red Reboot, a card which a lot of you players kind of forgot about. Red Reboot is kryptonite for this deck. Any version of these decks, these two are here. You just drop Red Reboot, they're gonna hand like they're gonna do something. I don't know why people do that. If I know I don't have it, I just go, just take your lickings, boys. And then they just do full combo, and if you don't kill me, once again, you just gave me a trap card, you pay off your life points. That has happened to me as well. I'm not sure if I'm gonna you guys. Comment down below if you play Guru Control Geist, and you're like, I'm alive and I got an extra trap card, you pay off your life points? Bro, what do we do in our lives? I mean, just draw a card and, oh, thank you for these great trap cards you gave me. So, and I can search out. So, I don't know. I do like Geist. I like it a lot. Guys, if you guys have been watching my videos, it's probably my favorite deck in the game right now. But definitely much respect to a lot of these other decks as well that have similar mentalities or similar kind of play styles in which it's like, I don't need it necessarily to kill you. I just need it necessarily to control you while you try to kill me. That's all I need to do. Because the minute you realize you can't kill me, if you don't scoop, I will get you. 15 turns. Then we have Sky Strikers, a deck that's definitely deserving of tier 1 slot. I think with Kagari going to 1, it really did nothing. It really didn't matter. Yu-Gi-Oh players, I don't know who is saying that. Oh, Strikers are dead. It's not. The deck's good. But I do think Strikers still have the similar issues as they always have. Which is, you know, I need your graveyard to do things, for the most part. I'm going to have an opening first turn, and my opening first turn is going to be very minimum, and very trying to control you. If I could get past this first turn, next turn go and double engage, I'm going to take you out. And that's the mentality with a lot of Sky Striker players. I'm going to have a minimal turn opening. If I go turn 1, I'm going to go double engage, end phase, and then ideally, I'm just going to go full combo and murder you next turn. Now, I think Strikers definitely still have problems against a lot of decks in the meta. But not at the tier 1 level. I think tier 1 they have a great, tier 1 game, but tier 1.5 they have a huge issue with a lot of these decks because they don't really know how to deal with them. They can run Mystic Mine, which is a huge advantage. But for the most part, striker players are just playing straight strikers. Maybe 1 or 2 Mystic Mines, maybe, but straight strikers and control the board, murder you next turn, Boar Sword. That's it. That's literally the deck. You stop Boar Sword, I don't think the deck can really play or function out well. I'm next, Salamangreats. This is tier 1, no doubt in mine. When you get played, the Blessing Wilson has been topping. Anytime anyone has to question Salamangreats, just look at the Blessing Wilson, who has made top 8s over and over and over and over and over and over again. Not only has he done this over and over and over and over and over again, but many other Salamangreat players, within, I'm going to say, the past 2 weeks, have been topping with this deck all over the place. This deck is very low key. A lot of you players don't respect Salamangreats, not as a skillful deck, but as a deck that can be tier 1. They see it more or less a tier 1.5 deck. Some of you players are smart to play cards like Super Poly and have answers for Salamangreats, but a lot of you players are like, whatever, I play against them, I play against them, and I just don't think that's the right mentality. I think Salamangreats is a very broken deck, and you have to have the answer for this deck. You have to know what to do when playing against this deck. You have to know what to side out playing against this deck, and I don't feel like a lot of you players respect this deck as much as they do Orcust and Strikers, in which they go, I gotta focus on these decks, these are the big dogs, and just don't realize how good Salamangreats are. I know a lot of you players I've talked to, when I talk about Salamangreats, they just don't care. They're like, if I play it, I play it. It's like, no, you really need to know what this. Like, you really need to know this is a tier 1 deck. This is just as good as the other 2 decks. Just because it's not mentioned a lot because it got a crappy secret rare, which should have been super rare, let's be honest. It's still a great deck, and you gotta focus on it. Burning Abyss is tier 1.5. Even though Burning Abyss got Cherubini, it's just not showing the play that it was supposed to. And I think the thing about Burning Abyss is, even though it's a great deck, and it has a lot of great variants out there, it's just not showing the numbers in top tables. It's just not as good as, I guess, what everyone felt it was going to be good as. If that makes any sense to anybody. Even though I love Burning, it's one of my favorite decks, Burning Abyss, it's just not predominant as everyone thought it was going to be. Up next, let's grab a random deck. Here we go. Dolces. Dolces is tier 2. That's it. I'm not putting them on 1.5. It's not happening. They're tier 2. Dolces is a deck that bad players forget how to read card effects and lose to. It's that simple. In fact, you know what? Hold on, Cosmos. Dolces is sitting next to Prank Kids because literally it's the same exact mentality. Read my cards. You don't know, you don't want to read these? Okay, then I guess I'm just gonna do whatever I gotta do, and you're gonna lose because you forgot to read my card. Like, literally, that's what it is. You have to read these cards, and you really can't prepare properly against playing against Dolces or Prank Kids. Nobody really goes to a regionals going, all right, man, just watch out for them Dolces and Prank Kid players. They're focusing on all these other decks. Literally, all these other decks. They're not focusing on these 2. And when they don't focus on these 2, decks like Dolces that haven't seen support in forever besides the 2 last cards. Besides the 2 last cards that were rares, Glass Folly, and I forgot the name of the boy. But if you find those 2 last cards, they haven't seen support in literally years. So a lot of you players just don't know what they do. And if you play against a deck against unprepared, you're playing into a free win if they don't acknowledge the fact that your deck can smoke them in 1 turn. Same thing with Prank Kids, except they can't be smoked in 1 turn. They can just control you in about 1 turn. So that's why these 2 are just highly underrated decks. We have Infernoids. Do we do tier 1.5? I want to put 1.5 because Infernoids have a great tier 1 matchup. A lot of decks in tier 1 are exactly what Infernoids want to play. In fact, I ask any Inferno player, they want to play a tier 1 player just because their deck works so good against them. It's pop my guy, stop your mess with your graveyard. Pop my guy, mess with your graveyard. And playing against any of these tier 1 decks, I feel like Infernoids has an insane matchup against that. So we're gonna grab Thunder Dragons real quickly and put them at tier 1. Thunder Dragons, Danger, we could argue as well. I mean, you can put Danger as tier 1 as well to go with Thunder Dragons, but pure Thunder Dragons with Thunder Dragon Danger, it's definitely a viable deck in the meta. A lot of Yu-Gi-Oh players thought Pure was dead, it's still topping. A lot of Yu-Gi-Oh players feel like Danger Thunder Dragons are going to Orcust. I agree with that, but there's still Danger Thunder Dragon players out there, like Jesse Cotton, who's still doing things, who's still topping events with this deck and just smoking people, because this deck is very resilient. It's just like Orcust. It's just very resilient. It can do a lot of plays, it can go through a lot of hand traps, and still make you scoop. It's that good of a deck, and that's why I think Danger Thunder Dragons are deservingly a tier 1 deck. Let's see what we got here. Invoked is 1.5, and that's me being nice. Invoked really hasn't showed the numbers that these other tier 1.5 decks have shown. but Invoked is still a very good deck. It's still a deck that I wish was tier 1. I think a lot of people wish this deck was tier 1 because it's such a fun deck to play. Invoked is not really a deck as much as it's an engine. It just finds decks to attach to and play Yu-Gi-Oh! With. That's literally what Invoked is. And even though as much as I want to put this at 1.5, do we put this at tier 2? I think it might have to be tier 2. Yeah, I'm gonna have to put that tier 2. It just hasn't had the numbers. It just hasn't had the regional numbers to be talked about as a tier 1.5 deck. Okay, so here's a weird one. Okay, ready for it? We're gonna put Paleozoics at 1.5, but they might be going to tier 1 soon. Paleozoics by itself is definitely a deck deserving of tier 1.5. It's a weaker version of what I think Geist and Guru Control is. It's the original kind of control-ish deck. And I don't hate Pale. I think Paleozoics has a lot of cool things about it, especially because like Dinosaur is being bought out. Evidently, that's pretty nutty. But just looking at Paleozoics, totally awesome, whatever you want to call it. With Marine Sets coming out, this deck might go to 1.5. Now, Marine Sets came on the OCG. It's not really doing much. Here in the TCG, our meta is different, so I might do things here in the TCG. But keep an eye on this deck. Hold your totally awesomes. If you have ulti Swap Rocks, you might want to hold them. It might do something in the meta, and if it does, this might change. It actually might jump up from its current slot. Spyrals 1.5 as well. It's another deck that I'm not sure if you can play some forgotten about, disrespected as a deck, or just go, you're playing Spyrals, you're a bad player. But Spyrals are messing people up. Like, the very few Spy players that are playing this deck is just wrecking everybody. Seriously, you're on YouTube already. Click up Regional Spyrals or just Spyrals Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck and look at all these Spiral players, some of which have gone undefeated in the current meta we're in with Spyrals. It's just doing things. I don't know, it's just crazy. Trickstars. Now, we're not talking about Trickstars in the tier 1 version of Trickstars. Just Trickstars as itself is always going to be 1.5. I don't think Trickstars will ever go underneath 1.5. And the reason why is because they have Reincarnation, which is a busted card. They have a way to control the field. They have a way to pop your hand out if you don't open like Ash, which you should be playing anyway. They're a really tricky deck for the unprepared. And even though I think Yu-Gi-Oh! In this meta, a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! Players are already prepared, especially with Ash coming out is in multiple print things, I still think Trickstars is a deck that can catch bad players off guard and for the free win and make average players kind of crap themselves, because you don't want to get burned out, you don't want to get controlled out with their dumb little trap card as they just, go in for one shot, and then try to one shot you in the field. You don't want to have this happen to you. So Trickstars are definitely 1.5. So let's talk about dinosaurs. My last my last tier video, we talked about dinosaurs, and a lot of people got upset, and I didn't talk about dinosaurs, and a lot of people got upset. They go, V, you didn't mention dinosaurs. They're tier 0. They're up here. They're somewhere in the up in the tier maker. They're 1.5. Dinosaurs are 1.5. Very few and the same dinosaurs are like Cyber Dragons are like ABCs. We have a ton of these players, but very few of them are deserving of a tier 1 slot as a player. Certain players will play like at a tier 1 level. They deserve to be up there. A good amount of those players don't. They go to tier 1.5. They play average wood against other tier 1.5 decks, no big deal. But against a tier 1 deck, they struggle heavily with. Against decks like against any of these decks, they just don't know how to deal with their expanded gameplay, in which these decks can continue playing through whatever they throw at them. And that's what I feel about these 3 decks right here. They have that kind of issue. The really good players will go, okay, he's gonna do this, he's gonna do this, he's gonna do this, he's gonna do this, he's gonna bait me on this one, I ain't falling for it, he's gonna do this, and the average player will go, okay, make big dino guy, Logia, Doka, put glasses on, boys, we're gonna try to win this one. And then once this gets blown out, they go, okay, game 2. And I once again, that's what I feel when I see a lot of these players at these tables playing these decks. Even the top table players sometimes struggle with this, and very few players are just that gifted in which they can play decks at a tier 1 level. It's very difficult to play it at that level, to have that mentality, to know the meta, to know all the plays, and to still play through all that. Gemini FTK is tier 2. I have a good buddy who plays Gemini FTK. I don't think it's a bad deck. It's just that very few players that play Gemini FTK are trying to win. They're trying to get the FTK off. Is it still happening? I've been told it's still happening. I gotta throw it on here, tier 2. Cyber Dragons is tier 2. I mean, not Cyber Dragons. Blue Eyed Dragon is tier 2. And you know what? It's better than Dark Magician players, my Blue Eyed Dragon friends, because Dark Magician players are super casual tier. Then we have this deck over here. Remember Necros? Remember the excitement everyone said, I'm going to play Necros, V. Necros is going to take it. No, it's not. Necros is tier 2. Necros has very few people that actually top the decks, top the events with this deck. Not that this is a bad deck, because I think it's like insane against certain matchups in tier 1 level, like Orcust. Because if you pop, was it Kai's to Mega? No, it's one of the Mega Monarchs. You just blast through the extra deck, and what are they going to play then? They're playing a bad version of Burning Abyss, the deck. Once you blast through this stuff, when you play against this with or without Necros. Necros has a lot of good cards in it. It's just not good enough. The balance has not been kind to you, my Necros friends. And I feel like if the balance let go of their grip around the neck of Necros, we might see Necros be at tier 1 5. I don't know if they'd be at tier 1, but definitely tier 1 5 if they had just a little loosen the grip off the neck, let them breathe a little bit. And then we got Invoked variants with the same thing. Invoked variants, which is the same thing as Invoked variants, which is the same thing as what was my concentration? Oh, here it is. Which is the same thing as not Invoked variants, the Invoked versions with the guy. I lost my concentration. Damn it. As far as the rest of these decks, I don't know what the hell these are. That's Burning Guy. This is a tier 3 list. We're gonna put that up there realistically. That looks like another foreign monster. Then there's like Dark Warrior, Orcust, another a deck that's definitely 1.5. Definitely not to compare. I can't say Dark Warrior Orcust. It's being the fact that I played a deck is anywhere as good as pure Orcust, Danger Orcust. I think Danger Orcust is pure Orcust right now. So we're gonna put Dark Warrior Orcust at tier 1.5, whereas regular Orcust is gonna be at tier 1. And then Paisanos, sorry about the interruption. Thank you so much for watching my video. I really appreciate you guys checking me out. Please make sure to subscribe. If I forgot a deck, I'm sorry. Comment down below. Say what I forgot. If you disagree with one of these decks, put them down there. And there's some spicy stuff to make your deck that 1.5 juice to put you up to the tier 1. Good for you. Continue playing Yu-Gi-Oh! And yeah, Paisanos, hopefully I'll see you at the YCS coming up this weekend. I'm really excited. And I'll talk to you later, Paisanos.